Hello and welcome. You're watching FI. I am Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. This is the time when there's an IPO frenzy going on in the country. IPOs, a lot of them startups like Nykaa, Paytm, OYO, a lot of them bringing in so much of a success story. Now, every time a success story like this comes up, the men and women behind them, men and women who left their day-to-day 9-to-5 jobs and a regular income, left that aside to chase that one dream or that one idea that they really believed in. Every time you see a success like that come up, a lot of people sitting in front of their computer screens at work wonder, is this a life that I can lead as well? Am I currently in the right kind of job? Is this something I'm doing only for money? Is this my driver? A lot of you tackle this question, some very regularly. So we thought, if you are somebody who's looking at a switch in career, let's help you out. So let's get into our explainer for the day. So how to change your career path really? Well, first you have to decide if you want to change industries altogether. You have to brainstorm careers, you have to research potential job matches as well and make an action plan. Also, what you need to figure out is that, is this a role that you want to change? Is this an industry you want to change? What is really that you are chasing as of this moment? You have to figure out what is brand you and then figure out how to reach that brand you. Consider educational resources as well to try and upskill yourself, maybe develop and get new ideas and new skills that can help you make that jump. Stay motivated and track your progress as well. That last bit, very tricky for a lot of people. Next, we looked at why do people change careers firstly? Well, some for better pay, some for less stressful work profiles, better work-life balance, yearning for a new challenge could be one. And no longer just looking and pushing in for the same thing every day. You feel not motivated at work, you feel there is no passion in your present existing profile. Well, these are some of the reasons why people often tend to take a break from career, want to make a switch as well. Now, but how to calculate if you fall in that category? For that, we've got 10 signs that tell you that it's time for you to change your career. Your body, as a lot of experts says enough, always exhausted, aching limbs, your job is impacting your self-esteem, not confidence, but you feel suggestions aren't being taken at all. You are only there for the money. That is a giveaway. Now, your dream is of a different career. This is not what you imagined yourself in at that particular age. It happens with people at 30s, at 40s, some much later as well. You feel like you're lacking energy, you are eternally bored, you've become disconnected from your passions altogether and you're jealous of your friends' jobs. Now, you're becoming, say, pathetic to change as well and you would leave if you could. That is something that you have to realize. Your friends don't recognize you, mark differences in your attitude as well, and well, you're always stressed. If you are showing any of these signs, it basically means that it might be time for you to take a break from your career. This could be impacting your mental health as well. Physically, of course, signs will come in much earlier. But what is a wise way to go about it? For that, let's bring in some experts. Joining us today is Dhaval Mehta, founder, CEO, TNI Career Counseling. Also with us is Usha, she's India's leading career counselor. Also with us is Sham Sivan, he is a career coach and trainer as well. Sham, let me begin with you. I've pointed out what a lot of people feel a lot of times in a month, forget a year. So when one does come with a feeling like that, how do you decide that this is time? Because urges, you might have a bad day at work and you might have a urge to just quit everything and go. We see a lot of it all around us all the time. So tell me and help our viewers understand, when do you know it's time?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me, Sonal. It's a pleasure to be here. When is it time? It's important to, I think, make this decision based in what you want for the future, not what is happening in the past. a lot of people come to me talking about feeling stuck in their careers, wanting to change something, and all the things you listed are very common in 30s and 40s, where people feel like something is going wrong. It's very important to shift the energy from the past, which is very reactive, to make it an active change to what you want in the future. So when is it a right time to change? When you have a better view of what you want next. And that, a lot of that comes through experimentation and acting and trying out new things. So I'd say, in a nutshell, when is it time to know when to change? It's when you have a feel for what's coming next.
Yeah, but not a lot of people can take that plunge, can they? You constantly hear people crib and cry about what they do, how they do, work pressure, not liking it, don't like people I work with, but they don't know how to follow through and take the next step as well. Usha, if you could guide us on how to take that next step.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Nice to be here and thanks for inviting me. Yes, it's always a very difficult decision for most young people. And I would say not just young, even older people are doing it. But I think this pandemic period has given everybody a wonderful chance to reassess their goals. Because the whole work environment has changed. The physicality of an atmosphere, an office atmosphere has got diluted. It's a very hybrid kind of an environment right now that many of us work from. So it gives young people a chance of now trying to experiment because they've had a little bit of stay at home and work, work with other, stresses of different kinds, work from home. All of these are probably opportunities, I would say, of trying to work out now what should I want to do. But I think the major issue, and I think when in your introduction, you mentioned it, each one has to do a little bit of introspection and look at what is brand me or brand you, as you call it. What are my skills? What have I developed over the years? What do I do best? What would I like to continue with? And then we can see that many of those skills, whatever skills we have, can be adapted to a different environment, a work environment, a different sector. So I think that is really the way to first start. And then, as Shyam said, yes, maybe we can look at other opportunities, do some experimentation, do an internship if you get a chance, maybe pick up a skill, do some training. Today, I'm surprised so many young people tell me about various, courses that they're taking online. And there is so much online that you can actually learn about and build your skills and upskill yourself. So I think all of these are really ways in which you can make a career change.
All right. But Dhaval, easier said than done, isn't it? A lot of people have been feeling about it. They feel the need. Like I said, they crib and cry every day, but they don't follow through. And perhaps it is not so easy to follow through as well, to let go of a, running income and say that I'm going to take this time out and figure out what to do next. Especially the older you get, the closer, the mid-level managers actually face this the most. Those who have spent about 10 years or so in the industry thinking, now what? If I start from scratch, I'll have to go, start from the bottom in another industry altogether. That's always the sort of trade-off you have to make, and always sort of the last thing that stops you from taking that step.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sonal, for having me here. And you're absolutely right about the fact that, professionals, and I feel just extending what Usha said, it's very true that this pandemic has actually given time, to experiment. And, I think that's one of the bigger areas which I would say you need to expand on is that time that they have got has allowed them to consider that they can switch to a career and they can actually do some research, they can upskill themselves, and they have these transferable skills. Going back, looking at what is not transferable versus what is, and
Could you
building
give an
a list
example of that?
So I would say that anything that you do, like relationship building, right? If you're actually working, whether you're a lawyer or someone who is in a career or a doctor, and maybe you want to be a health professional, right? And there are things which are transferable. So your learning as a doctor is transferable, and you want to move to a health professional. for instance, you can actually take all of that learning and still move towards, considering administration of a hospital, right? So that's what I mean when I'm saying that you're going to have transferable skills. So many of them during this pandemic actually realized that, even doctors who were, working with patients, they also realized that there are so many other things that they've actually got. And now I might want to specialize or look at something else, maybe administration of health facilities. A lot of them actually figured that out during this pandemic.
Right, but Shyam, are there any tests? Like, is there a more sort of concrete way of putting it down on paper? Sort of make a balance sheet of what you're good at, what you're not good at. It's just something, a thought in your head. I mean, these decisions can't be taken in a spur of a moment. You've had a...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So you need to really be...
If Shyam can answer that question, please, and take us through. I know there is a psychometric analysis that is done. I know a lot of people, there are mid-level career counselings also available, and there are tests, etc., to understand if you're in the right place, the right time of your career or no.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, building on what has been said so far, psychometric assessments are largely about what you do well. And what happens over time, especially for mid-career professionals, is we lose sight of what we are good at. We just kind of going with the flow, doing what needs to be done, and we lose sight of what our real core strengths are. So what psychometric assessments can really help is outline what your real strengths are. Some of these can be transferable, some of these can be core technical skills, for example, and some of these, and this is the most interesting bit, can be transferable, like Dhaval said. And if these assessments are helping you find, for example, I work a lot in technology, so suppose you're an engineer, and you're very good at analysis, hey, maybe you could go into banking, maybe you could be a business analyst, maybe you could go into numbers-oriented, analytical thinking, and that's an option that's available to you. It is very, very difficult to create a career shift based on what you think you don't do well. I think the most important shift that we need to make in our thinking and our mindset is that we build on top of what we have, right? Instead of working through criticisms and what we need to become better at. It's very important to always stay in tune with what you're very good at, both using tools like assessments, psychometric assessments, and getting feedback from others.
All right, all of that, getting feedback, understanding what you're good at, what you're not good at. How many of us take a pause to actually understand and sort of take a score on that is a good question to ask. On that note, let's take a break. When I come back, every time we have this issue when it comes to career, we've often gone back to this ikigai mode to understand what is it that serves purpose to you. It helps, it gives you money, etc. Is that also a good way to analyze it? That we'll check out on the other side of this very quick break. Welcome back. Are you also one of those thinking about making a career switch, not happy in your present job and wondering how to go about it? Well, this is the program where we are trying to bring you some of those answers. Let's go back to our panel now and let's go to Dhaval now to try and understand. You were making a point earlier about how people need to understand that there is so much that they can work upon. There is so much that can be done in upskilling themselves, etc. We often in the present scenario also see a situation where because of the pandemic, a lot of shift has happened in what people want out of their lives and what they want out of their job as well. For example, many saying that they don't want a job which requires them to be at work. They want that flexibility to work from home. Is that something you think will stick around? Is here to stay? Will bring in some of those changes, even how industries are looking at talent?
So that's a very interesting question, Sonal. And, the answer is that it's definitely going to need some flexibility. I feel that, what everyone's realized is that, the traveling that goes into, having a 5 or 6 day work week needs to be lesser. So everyone wants more flexibility in some ways. I feel that we'll have to see if it's here to stay. What most of them want is that they want to be back in the office live also. So maybe a 4-day week is something which a lot of them have been really talking about. So I see that that's possibly what we could be, what we could see going ahead. But I think it'll pan out. Probably the next 6 months will be how the vaccine situation is around. How the booster doses are. There's a couple of questions to that also. So I think that many of them it'll vary. I
actually wanted to go beyond that because it's not just about vaccines. This has made people realize, And some companies or some industries, at least, if I can start by saying that, and Usha can weigh in more on that, have started to believe that, work can happen with employees being home. And I think it's something that differs from industry to industry, is what we've discussed in our other shows as well. But Usha, weigh in on this point?
Yes, I think a large number of industries have realized that it is easier and people stay more motivated when they can have flexi hours, as it is now called. They can come in when it is required, when they have those big time meetings, or they need to do some essential work which requires a lot of interaction with other colleagues. A lot of it is being done on various platforms, and a large part of it is being done through this, what is called today the hybrid system. But I think what I'm also looking at, and which I think a lot of young people are also looking at, is entrepreneurship and moving into sectors which they may not have thought about earlier. They have the skills, like we said, transferable skills. You have skills that can move, enable you to do things with those skills. You have huge interpersonal skills or communication skills, whatever it might be. You're working in one sector, it shows you opportunities, and you just say, okay, why don't I try doing a startup? And many young people are actually taking time off to try these out because the industries, some of them even give them that time to do that. Some, they know that they would still have a job. They've built themselves excellent careers, and they know that even if this one goes, I give this up now, I will have a chance of getting back if my new idea doesn't work out. But I'm seeing a large number of young people moving into entrepreneurship.
It's
and I think that is really the way forward.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt there. It's interesting you saying that, but Shyam, can you weigh in on and give us an update on the success rate when it comes to startups?
Success rate of startups. All right. I think startups might be way ahead on the curve on this one. I think because there's a couple of seismic shifts that are happening. One shift is the personal shift for people, which is the great resignation that's happening. Everyone's kind of getting closer and closer to what they really want out of work. And they've realized that they want a balance. They want to, work is not, the entire identity, right? And the second, the seismic shift is at the business level, which is where I think startups have gone way ahead of maybe some of the larger organizations which have been a little staid or archetypal in their ways of saying you got to clock in at a certain time, you got to be physically present, and so on. So the two seismic shifts I see is one, on a personal level, people realizing what work really means to them, and second is organizations realizing that remote work is actually possible. Right? It is. I mean, out of a compulsion, it has happened for 18 months, but now that it is actually seen to be possible and working, what does that mean to the organization? So there's this interesting dynamic going on between individual desire and organizational shifts, I think.
But I do think it's an industry to industry specific question and a decision that is taken as well. For example, some industries can work and can operate without having people present. And the reason I asked you about the success rate is also because what we hear is the success story. What often gets lost is the thousands that did not work. And a lot of people then managing, so many people I know or we all know who tried to do something, did not, and then when they came back, there is another level of complication altogether. So, to keep yourself motivated and go through that entire process, have the right kind of partners and funding, etc., is something that needs to be calibrated. I wonder if there is a model available for that. Is anybody aware about that? If there is a model, if somebody's written something about it, where people have discussed on what is like the template to do a startup.
So, I mean, I can just weigh in on this part, Sonal. I can just tell you that you're absolutely right that it's fairly challenging. There are two aspects to, when you're looking at a startup is what I've seen recently is that a lot of even CEOs of companies, were doing really well. They started going into the startup mode and, saying, okay, I want to leave this because I've been working on this for 17, 18 years. Now let me go ahead. I mean, you saw the listing for Nykaa today, right? I mean, she was an ex-banker, someone I worked with personally. I mean, it's been phenomenal growth, right? And I've seen CEOs like that also right now.
CEOs have can do it. It's easier for CEOs to do it.
So they take.
It's
Sonal, that's what they do.
difficult
is
for
that
the
then they take
marketing
the younger
manager, for the
talent
mid-level people to take that shift, and they are the ones who are most burdened with work.
Absolutely, I agree
Yeah,
with
but I
you. But
also
that's where they
think
take the younger talent, right? They are not going to do all the work themselves. They'll probably put in the amount of experience and maybe the resources and the money. But then you're going to get the younger talent, really. And that's what's driving the younger talent. To be honest, I've seen most of them between 20s. I mean, there was a story just recently about how a college dropout, 19 years old, raised money he dropped out of going to Stanford University and they got $60 million. So I'm just saying that from a perspective of entrepreneurship, right, it is difficult, it's challenging, that road is extremely challenging, but many of them want to try that, even at this time.
Right. Last 30 seconds, please. Usha was saying something.
They do want to try that, and they do try. And I think the real point is that even if they fail, and they fail once or twice, the learning curve is huge. Because when you fail and fall, you learn a lot more, and then you try and reinvent yourself in a different way. And I think all of those is incremental in terms of the growth in your career and in the whole career goal that you're trying to
I'm very happy about
to.
both the examples that Dhaval picked up. One of the Nykaa IPO, you will of course listen from the woman herself on this channel very soon, shortly from now. And the other people you talked about, the dropouts from Stanford, they might be joining us soon on FYI. So, well, certainly for one thing, I think I'm in the right place. I really hope everybody else finds their place as well. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us on this very fascinating discussion. That's it on FYI today. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.